Okay, I'm going to call the Thursday, July 21st Parks and Community Services meeting to order. First off, I'd like to say it's so nice to have everyone here. First time in I don't know how long. So thank you all for coming in person. And so the first thing on the agenda is the approval of the minutes. And we have 3 sets of minutes. We really have a packed agenda. So if you have edits that don't affect content, let's get those done at a different time. What we're interested in, nothing that's related to content that we're going to be approving today. So first we'll start with the May 26th minutes, which were the community grants.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of the May 26th meeting.
And I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Okay, and then we have the June 8th meeting, which was the grant discussion meeting.
Look at it.
All in favor? Aye. Okay, and then we have the minutes of our regular June 16th meeting.
I make a motion to approve the minutes of the June 16th meeting.
I second it. All in favor? Aye. Aye, okay, thank you. Then we have public comments. Is there any public comment?
I did not receive any.
Okay, great, thank you. Okay, so our first item on the agenda is new ADA program equipment. We were supposed to have a guest. Some research on ADA equipment, and obviously he's not here. So Kurt, do you want to give a little assessment on your feelings about our ADA? Or do we want to just table it and wait till he comes?
I can speak to it briefly.
Okay.
I think the gentleman that's interested in this is going to be getting some pricing and some more site drawings of each of the sites. I'm just going to speak briefly of what has happened to this point with our playground equipment. Every 5 years, we have an ADA audit of the whole city of how we're doing with our ADA program. And our playground is in pretty good shape as far as what the ADA consultant told me. Eventually the playground's gonna have to get rehabbed and maybe a new playground set up. I don't think we're there yet because our playground equipment's still in condition, and we do have components of that ADA accessible, but it's definitely worthwhile for this guy to go out and take a look at options. So when we do choose to redo one of the parks, maybe we can throw some of those ADA this gentleman is thinking about into the equation.
Okay, does anybody have any?
I'm gonna add one thing.
Go ahead.
I'm gonna add one thing, and that's in Mr. Allen's letter. He says that I think there should also be some thought regarding children with disabilities, as there was nothing currently in place, implying there's no ADA facilities at the downtown playground. Well, we were well aware of what was required back in 2006, and the downtown playground has an ADA approved accessible surface. It has a tough timber access wedge, which is specifically for wheelchairs. It has a reach panel, a storefront panel, a turning bar, a transfer module, and a ring pull. And those are all ADA components of the playground. Trying to think where it is. The National Playground Safety Institute recommends 2 ground level ADA components per 7 elevated components. And so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and we have between 11 and 15, depending on how you count the swings, elevated components. And they only recommend that we have 3 or 4 if we have 6. So that's as it is now. I realize that the industry's changed. There's all kinds of new every year there's new stuff you can put in your playgrounds. When it's time to build a new playground, which isn't all that far away, I think we would be wise to start from scratch maybe, but also budget a couple hundred.
Correct. And that's what this gentleman's planning on doing, is getting some pricing. And I know
for future development.
Yeah, that just gives us a ballpark idea of budgeting when we do decide to move forward with.
Okay. And have we shared the information that you just gave us with him? With the individual, Greg?
I know,
Okay, so that might be,
I was hoping he would have been on the call today or whatever.
Can I ask a little bit of the background of Mr. Allen? Is he
I have no idea.
just curious? I'm not trying to.
He owns the shop over across the street and he is very involved with adaptive swimming and he's working with the Wounded Warrior Project to get different types of flotation devices for people
Okay.
who have disabilities from the Wounded Warrior Project. So it's just something he's very passionate about. From what I can understand, he's a member of the TAC committee and he talks about those kind of things quite a bit.
Okay.
And isn't he the one that oversees the wheelchair?
Right.
Yes, he also
Yeah.
took over the wheelchair program for us. And he sent the TAC committee information on, there's that map that you can put out
Mhm.
that Lincoln City did. And so he finds this information and shares it. And I don't know what his background to get him in that is, but it's something he's very passionate about.
Okay,
Yeah,
High degree of interest.
he's the one that brought up the mats down at Tolavana. Wayside, when we revamp that ADA access down there, we want to try to incorporate some kind of a mat program where we can deploy some mats and handicapped individuals can get access to beach and go surfing. He's really big on that and he's a big supporter of it. So
okay. Any other questions? Go ahead. He will attend our next meeting.
I'll
Or,
follow up with him because
Okay.
it sounds like the way he wrote the email that when he gets the information.
oh, that's true. Yeah.
So,
Okay, so we'll just wait to hear from him.
Yep.
Okay, sounds
One tiny point, though, the three playgrounds that the city owns were all installed in-house by staff
Mhm.
as opposed to a contractor. So you might be aware of that depending what kind of numbers get shown to you.
right, that installation is probably a huge factor
correct,
in the cost.
correct.
Okay. We okay with that? Okay, so next we have the monthly state of the parks report.
Okay, this is a last month update. The Oak Court stairs have been rebuilt. They're new.
Good.
At this point, in the last probably 8 or 10 years, every set of stairs that wasn't concrete has been rebuilt. Took years to get that. They were all built in the 70s. Anyway, we're in great shape on beach accesses for the rest of my life. The 10 spot windscreens are up and installed. That happened quite a while ago. The power has been turned on at the bandstand and a series of weekly concerts plus other ones has begun successfully, apparently Thursday nights. The new pocket park on Lark Street between the Waves and Webb's motels is done. All 4 pickleball nets are finally out in the field getting used. And we did I did some little backfill to finish up at Whale Park. Last month, I said it was all done. It wasn't quite, but now it is. Whale Park project, and I'll keep it short. So any questions? Or that's it.
For my tracking at any tree planted.
No.
I'll add one last thing. The commemorative plaque program has been a humongous success, as you guys all know. I had 2 more boards created because we're running out of space on the 2 existing boards.
We have aims for new plaques.
We have those now in-house, so when it comes time to deploy them there at the bandstand.
Great. Yeah, that's a good program.
Is
Any other questions or comments for Kirk? Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Then we have right away tree removal. And those were in your packet. Any questions or comments? On that?
Well, I went and looked at the tree, so, but I thought maybe that on this criteria for tree removal, that it seemed more that the tree is damaged rather than a safety hazard. Because it kind of leans over the right of way, but there's no property. I mean, it's almost to the ground, so.
Fell over.
yeah,
Right, but that's where I thought that it would be more damaged, for the reason to remove it.
It looked pretty bad until they pruned all the
we had
limbs out of the street.
Yeah, I noticed that it got pruned. Yeah,
So we had to prune it back to have Jeff go out and evaluate the tree.
Yeah.
We had to open up the road back up. So that's what,
Oh, so it had grown over the road.
it had fallen in the road.
Okay.
We had to get the road open back up tight down there.
And is to cut it down more?
Yeah, he states in there, we're gonna leave a significant chunk of the stump to allow it to
I think it'll sprout back.
So it'll sprout back according to Eric. He wants to speak to that, but
So,
and then also, I didn't see who approves these applications and wondered if it was possible if we get these before. Or any comment from, we're getting this in July and this application was submitted at the beginning of June.
So it's a timing thing.
Right,
So it's not gonna always get to you beforehand. This is a cursory, let you know of.
Right.
It's not,
The postings are on the website and at the post office when we do them. So that we do meet our code for notification. So the Parks Committee is the tree board.
right.
So as a courtesy, we just keep you guys involved in it.
So we're not actually, I guess I'm trying to get so that we see it before it gets cut down or approved.
Yeah, and that's not gonna happen because it's me. So this one, while it was applied for, I didn't post it until much later because
Right.
I just ran out of time. So it won't always hit this. If you're not actually approving it, it's just letting you know.
it's information.
It's information. So you can comment on it as a regular citizen through the same process as anybody else.
And then who approves the?
So this one is, I just put the copy of the application. The planner ultimately approves them. So the planner is the one that signs off on it.
So just one
Jeff
person.
Gear- Yeah, once Jeff Gerhardt's done his evaluation and he deems it necessary for removal, then it goes to Jeff Adams and then he's the final say on it.
Seems like the tree board would have some sort of a involvement rather than just one person for trees
Right.
being cut down.
At the present time, that's not the case. During our code audit, we're going to be looking at the tree ordinance and that's the time that you should probably give some public
Okay.
comment to that process.
Okay.
So that's going to happen at the planning commission level.
Okay.
So just kind of watch for those agenda items. Would be my recommendation. Okay,
Yep.
Any other questions? Okay. Biggest item on the agenda for this month is the Heritage Trees Program, and we have Jeff, our city arborist on the line. Good morning, Jeff. Good morning.
There we go. Good morning.
So you had a chance to look at some of our information and some.
I have, yeah, I looked through the packet and I have it in front of me.
Okay,
Yes. Yeah, I really like the direction it's heading and the format it's in.
do you have any specific recommendations?
You know, I really don't. I feel like kind of in the infancy of this program, we just kind of got to put it out there and see what kind of response we get and kind of, take it from there with what we receive.
Okay,
Trevor's going to kind of filter through, the nominations, and then I'll be previewing, reviewing the ones that look like they have potential. So
okay, so are you going to stay on during our discussion? And then if you have further comments, you can give those to us at the end of the discussion?
that sounds good to me.
Okay, great. Okay, so I thought the first thing we would do was to look at the application and see if there's anything. We're trying to get this, to city council. So is there anything on the application that think needs revision or anything?
I like how it's one page.
Mhm.
I like how it's simple.
And I think it would be nice if we could get the city logo on it.
Oh, absolutely.
In the corner, yeah. We haven't done all the formatting and things, but yeah, that's one thing.
Well, and at the bottom, it just says return completed application forms to the city of Cannon Beach. I think you need to
Now Rusty will,
put
once,
something
Right.
more than that, but
once Rusty gets a hold of this, he'll follow it up.
They'll format, yeah.
Okay.
But in terms of content, do you think there's anything that's missing?
We've looked at a number of cities. They're all pretty consistent. I
Yeah, and I think we've
don't think
captured.
we've missed any.
So,
It's a start. Now we
Good way to
we
start.
get, you know, and
right,
once I start getting some nominations, I might be like, oh, hey, we need this in there.
right.
Or
I think that the part, the number 5, which it talks about public or private property,
we should take out public, huh?
excuse me,
Take out public
Why?
or private.
yeah,
Because the first year we have already agreed that it's only going to be, so we don't even need that question on there.
yeah,
Yeah, that's good, good call.
And if you look through all of it, there are several places where it talks about public and private. And I left it that way, thinking that if the ultimate intent of the program was to go toward that, then it would be easier. There's a statement on page 1 that says, initially only public property will be considered. But I thought it might be easier to manage the whole thing if we didn't have to change the form multiple times. So I left the form for both and just made a statement, we're not going to consider it.
How about just leaving it in there?
That was my thought.
Because then I can get a feel for how many public trees or
Private.
private trees
Okay, yeah, that's a good point.
are sent to me, because that might be like, hey, we need to get this program started on the private side.
Okay,
And that's kind of what I was thinking. It might be, we would need to get a tree nominated before we really were able to sit down and think about all the issues that. So anyway, you'll find public and private
okay.
language in there, but that was kind of intentional.
Okay, so is that the consensus of the committee to leave it in? Okay.
I'm going to go back to the first page, although there's not a whole lot. I think that, Jen, correct me if I'm wrong, but the first page, which is just kind of the
Oh, I'm going.
ordinance thing, is going to be run by the lawyer and probably fixed up.
Yeah,
One that says before the common council.
yeah, that is just your language right now. We'll send it to Ashley before I send it to council so she can review the language. I usually don't format it until closer to actual adoption. But as far as the language, we'll have Ashley review it.
Okay.
Okay, so let's go back up to the ordinance, and does anybody have any content changes in that before it gets set to Ashley?
so number 3 addresses the issue that we were just talking about, so,
Right,
yeah, so that's good.
So let me bring this up real quick. If we have that in ordinance, you actually have to do another ordinance to go to private. So this is your code. So your code will just say city property. If you want to add private, then we'd have to change your code and do another ordinance.
so,
So
Could we say at the present time, city located on city property at the present time?
You'd have to change it if you wanted to do
Oh,
private.
Okay, all right.
That would have to change.
well, that's what I was hoping to avoid was, so really, I mean, you could make the argument, I think, that as the tree board, this is really more about our procedural and that we are not going to consider private trees. Maybe it doesn't even need to be in there. We're simply establishing
You're establishing the program.
a program, and the way we manage it is in year 1 at least, it'll just be public trees and
So that would be policy versus ordinance.
something like that. Yeah, so it sounds like that should be stricken, that one line for sure.
on that same note, though, where it says on number 2, the Cannon Beach City Council creates and directs the Cannon Beach Tree Board, which is the Parks and Community Services.
It should say the Parks and Community
Okay,
Services. because
okay.
That is, the tree board's not a city sanctioned group.
Right.
Parks Committee.
Yes.
So that's good.
Okay,
Okay.
yeah, and when Ashley gets it too, she'll have some great suggestions too, I'm sure. So anything else on the ordinance? Example. Okay, then, next would be criteria. Betty and Les. you guys wanna-
We have two versions of this.
Yeah. So there's one more page in the packet that follows before we get to the criteria. It's the one that says draft heritage tree ordinance and it has purpose at the top. So this,
I thought that's one we just,
We were discussing the one above.
yeah,
This is where we are right now. Purpose. Yeah, there.
oh, okay, that's
so.
where I was too, I just called it the wrong thing.
Okay, so the roots of this came from the work that Bob Lundy did and presented to us. And when he gave it to me, he said, look, there were some issues, some things in it that we as a committee weren't comfortable with. And so I didn't delete anything, but I struck through the pieces that I believed were the stuff, because it's been a while since we all talked about this. The thing I wanted to point out, well, Bob's stuff went down to the part where it says maintenance of a heritage tree. That actually came from another heritage tree program, but I thought it was important because we had kind of talked about what does it mean if it's a heritage tree. And so I just took the language that I found and it says here, it is recommended that the city arborist or a practicing certified arborist carry out visual tree inspections of heritage tree at a frequency of once to twice a year. I want to make sure that got said, because I don't know that Jeff has agreed to that or Trevor has agreed to that. That's kind of a new thing. But it makes sense to me. And then, the rest of it's pretty much, I think, consistent. You have to have a permit before you work on it and it can't be removed without,
Decommission.
yeah.
So any comments on that?
I'm not a big fan of, being my hands held to, visual inspection twice a year. I think,
Oh, it says once to twice.
yeah, I mean, I think it would just be as need be. I mean, it's a heritage tree, it's gonna be watched like a hawk by
Okay.
so,
Okay,
because said it's gonna be hard to get on this list to become a heritage tree. That's just my concern. I just don't want to be held to,
And
So as needed,
yeah. After a windstorm or something like that, that's when my clocks will start ticking on. Like I have to go take a look at that.
Yeah.
Tree, see if there any wind damage or anything like that.
so everybody okay with as needed?
Yeah.
So that,
again, we're a starting point if it turns out that
Yeah,
something, anyway, I just want to make sure that got discussed because
Okay.
I stuck it in there and everybody else needs to know about it. There is one other piece that on this page, I'm sorry, I'm jumping around a little bit. I didn't mean to. Up in the process section, it says, upon recommendation of the tree board, the city council may designate a tree as a heritage tree. And then the latter part also came from another program, the Hawaiian program, Betty, that you pulled some stuff from. Provided the tree's health, aerial space, and open ground area for the root system have been certified as sufficient. And so that would have to come from Jeff.
Right.
And so that's some specific stuff that I want to make sure everybody's comfortable, particularly Jeff. Is that reasonable to, when you go out and look at a heritage tree? That you would make those specific assessments? I don't want to put them in if they're not reasonable.
Yeah, I think so. Because if there are some red flags, especially like to the root system, that's a concern, then that could be enough to maybe the tree wouldn't qualify as a heritage tree at that point. So I think it's good to have, that, we're taking more into account than just, what we see above ground.
utilities, everything.
Yeah, I mean, and it
Yeah.
felt like it was in the spirit of what we've talked about doing, but I just, when it gets put in paper, I want to make sure everybody's at least aware of it.
Thank you. Okay, now are we ready for criteria?
Sorry.
No, no, it's fine. You guys keep me honest. Okay. So again, I think this is something Betty and Les have spent a lot of time on. We should appreciate it.
Did you want to say anything about this page?
Well, this first one, the criteria for heritage trees, Les and I had created, we had, as a group, we decided which criteria, and then we had these paragraphs explaining the criteria. And as we went along, we would think, this is way too complicated for people, so let's simplify it. And so we looked at this form that they have in Hawaii, which seemed very simplified, straightforward, and we kind of did it roughly and just put it in for you folks to look at. So if you could just look at it and see what you think, because we were just trying to make it more simplified. So we thought this would fit the bill.
Format, that simplified
Yeah.
manner of asking questions.
I do have one question under general application process. We talked about doing it once a year.
Yeah.
So do we want to review monthly, or
As
that
needed.
was a lot more often than we were originally talking about?
This was just what we took from, so we can change it anyway. And I think you're right. We were doing it yearly. So
So applications are reviewed
yearly.
when received,
Oh, when we see it.
because that's the actual application.
yeah, no, no.
not The designation.
Yeah, I think that would be.
Yeah, and again, this is, other than the stuff that I struck out, is exactly what came across from the
Right.
Hawaiian document, but it does talk about, and you're right, Stacy, applications are reviewed and it probably should be as received. But it does go down there, and it the approved nominations only go to the council once a year,
Okay.
which I think is kind of consistent with what we had talked about. So
So the second sentence in that process information probably needs to be consistent with the has needed, and then it also needs to say the
Right.
parks and community services.
Yes, Parks and Community Service.
So the nomination voted on act,
The next
well,
part.
not necessarily.
Oh,
You
right.
want to see every single nomination form
Yes,
Yes,
regardless.
yes.
right.
I think so.
So, yeah. And we might obviously change our mind if we get flooded, but I mean, which would be a good problem to have,
Yeah,
you know? But yeah, I think,
I think it'd be nice to see all the trees that people are thinking about nominating regardless.
and again, remember that this will be a living document that we
Yeah.
might be revising.
And there's criteria to follow for if the application should keep going in the process or whether it should be eliminated, so.
Can I add something? Instead of saying nominations will be voted on at the next, say Parks meeting, can we just say considered? Because
Right,
Yeah,
we
Good-
don't
good point.
necessarily, and then we're gonna notify them of the decision, but we can't really decide until it goes to council, though, right?
Right.
Right.
So we're just gonna say the Parks Committee has decided to submit yours to council. Council will review these at these such and such.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
But once Jeff Gearhart deems it a heritage tree, that's when it goes to the council, level,
Right.
correct?
right.
Okay.
Everybody clear on that?
Yeah,
Okay.
great.
I mean, it's gonna be a slow process. I'm gonna be honest with you.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
when I get a nomination
No,
form,
we're not,
it's gotta go to you, depending on what time of the, and then scheduling it with Jeff, all those things. So it's not gonna be a slam dunk. It's gonna be kind of,
and when we started this whole process, that's one of the things we said is we want to do it right.
Yeah.
And that's why it's taken us a while to get it done, so.
once this program starts, we gotta be cautious of staff's time, because I gotta,
Exactly.
Yep. So we figure that all out, just bear with us at the beginning.
Okay, guys, want to continue? Anything else?
So then the criteria down below, it sort of simplifies it by giving you an age range, height range. And the other one that we had before was very complicated, so we thought this would be much more user-friendly.
You know why it was so complicated?
Oh,
Just
well, because
Lots
trying
of
to,
cons-
well, I can show you it was just if the well,
They were just,
Les,
Yeah,
you remember,
Well, yeah. And so on the next 2 pages, I went ahead and left the complicated descriptions in, so.
these are the
so we could
complicated
have the
ones.
Discussion. Do you have those printed
Yeah.
out as well?
So those are the
It says
next
Heritage
one.
Street criteria.
If you keep going. It says Heritage Tree criteria.
yeah,
You can read that and see how complicated.
well,
it was.
yeah, I did. I was looking
So
at
it
the
was just like,
size.
this
The
is.
size is the one that really jumps out at you. You know,
plus those are things that our expert is going to,
Yeah,
right, and
exactly.
we don't need that all spelled out.
Yeah,
He knows
exactly.
what- I mean, we're trusting him the arborist to make the
Right.
right decisions on that.
Yes.
So it may be that what Betty's calling the simplified version is the right one for our purposes, and kind of stay away from these big wordy things.
Are we okay with that?
Yeah,
Make it simple.
exactly.
And
Native,
I thought that would be the
native
case,
trees.
but
Are they,
Kirk, I didn't hear that question.
Is one of the criteria that just be a native species? No,
We could decide that. We didn't.
it's not part of the, okay, just curious. I thought we discussed that once.
we spoke on that briefly. Jeff, do you remember what we kind of talked about with the native species? Where we're gonna try to stick
Yeah.
with natives?
I think we were gonna start the program with natives and then
Yeah.
incorporate non-natives later on.
yeah,
Okay.
and I don't think that really comes out in this specifically. What I was thinking was, didn't really know what a list of native species might be. Maybe it just needs to be said that way, but if I don't know what for sure native species are, maybe other. people
Regardless,
don't
if
either.
it's not native, we'll still take a look at it.
Yeah, no, this is okay. I was just curious. if-
Okay, Jeff thinks this is a heritage tree, it's not native. That's good.
Mhm.
Might be a good thing. So,
You guys as a group might lean towards heritage tree. I mean, we'll see, I mean, native trees, we'll see how it. Get them all.
So can I ask about rarity?
We can leave that off. That was on the other form. We don't really have that in our criteria that we had decided. But I think, Kurt, didn't you talk about a tree that wasn't native, that was special, that was planted somewhere in the park?
Oh, I mentioned that magnolia, is that what it is?
So that would kind of be a rarity, I think. But I don't know if we even want to leave that in there. It doesn't need to be a criteria.
Yeah, I would strike that one.
Yeah, strike that one.
Anything else that you guys want to?
Well, on criteria on the top, it says, this is the one with general application. The second part, it says for a tree palm to be designated heritage, we just need to strike palm.
Yeah, I didn't do as good a job of cleaning it up as I thought I did.
No, you did good. You did
You
good.
did.
don't have massive here.
Yeah, that would go under rarity, maybe. Under rarity, I left on the island, and that doesn't apply very well either, does it?
Okay, anything else?
We haven't, we
And
haven't.
another comment,
Sure.
back at the top, I just kind of want to present an idea of where we're on page criteria for heritage trees. And heritage tree definition states a heritage tree is an individual tree or stand or grove of trees. We haven't really talked about, there being more than one in an area. And one of the first items on the nomination form, item 1 is check 1 if it's a single tree, a stand of trees, how many? And not to make it more complicated, but that does kind of present an idea that you may have a tree that's deemed heritage But it's become a heritage because of the forest of trees that it grew in. You know, it didn't grow up on its own. And if those trees were removed around it, it might make it more susceptible to, say, blowing over or weakened.
Yeah.
So to preserve the heritage tree, it might need to be preserved in a grove.
That's a great idea.
And that just makes it more complicated, right? But, you know, that would be a consideration if, you know, that kind of tree were to be brought up.
I agree.
Well,
Yeah. I love that idea. Is to,
And like when you go down to the redwoods in Northern California, and, you know, they set aside whole groves and they name them, this is the, you know, so we could consider having a grove that's kind of set aside to preserve one heritage tree, but it's preserving that whole grove around it.
Spruce Reserve,
Yeah.
for example.
Or
in that first paragraph that we were just reading,
But
it does mention rarity on the second line. So we could strike that, yeah.
yeah, I've got that noted.
Okay, anything else on?
Do we want to keep has species been assessed for invasiveness?
I think that'd be a question for Jeff.
Yeah.
Did
I
you,
think we could omit that along with rarity. I think we'll be able to assess that when it comes up. I mean, there's not too many invasive trees. And you know, you could technically maybe have an invasive tree that's a heritage tree, as weird as that sounds. So just gonna have to see what we get.
okay, so everybody okay with strike?
I am.
Yes.
I wouldn't- consent.
Okay, anything else? Going once?
So just to clarify, we're gonna strike heritage tree criteria, that the wordy one, we're gonna strike that out.
Right.
Good, okay.
Everybody? Anita, you okay with?
well, I'm trying to find where Betty's
It's the one that it's not here, it's these, we're gonna strike these, the whole thing. Cause it's super wordy.
But it's addressed on the other simple.
See, it's addressed over here. But that's the way we had it before and it was too wordy, so.
okay, but this is kind of defining, giving more of a description, detailed description of this criteria. So I kind of feel like that, you know, so for applicants to have some
Okay.
detailed explanation of the criteria rather than a checkbox might be of value.
In terms of education,
Right, you know, and what is going to be looked at and considered in the application for heritage tree nomination.
Well, we might want to, on some of them, then the size part, we might want to just say significant.
Yeah, I mean,
You know, because that was wordy to explain to somebody what we're
Right.
talking about.
yeah, but I mean, I like how, you know, it describes the historical value and what will be looked at, the cultural value, the
Okay,
age, and particularly the biological value. I like all of that. Just for someone to see what criteria is going to be looked at instead of just a check mark on a box.
so how does everyone feel about
it's fine with me.
putting it back in with some revision on the size part?
I think it's a little less wordy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
People are gonna see that and go,
yeah.
That's
I mean,
what I-
that's what I read that and I was just like, oh my God,
That's what, yeah, that's
where's my
why I was-
calculator?
That's why we were trying to,
Yeah.
Presumably, we're headed for putting this on a web page like that.
Right.
Is there any reason why we don't, we could put the heritage tree, a more wordy definition on the page, but not have it actually a part of the ordinance itself? It's
Oh,
forbidden.
like further information?
Yeah, I mean, just expanded information. Does it really need to be attached to this?
It could be an appendix.
I don't know what the right way to do it.
for an ordinance.
You should have it.
You don't want any of this attached to your ordinance, because then you'd have to, every time you make a change,
Right,
you'd have to change your.
yeah, the ordinance is just the single
Yeah,
sheet. And then the criterion things are things that we use and the arborist uses.
it's just information.
Right, and that can be changed at any time.
Yeah.
Correct.
And we'll probably, like, eventually want to get this form through a resolution.
Right.
Because then council's giving their formal blessing, and then whenever you want to make a change, you just do it through a resolution, which is much quicker.
Yeah.
Than an ordinance.
Okay.
Okay, we all okay with all of?
I think so.
Okay. Oh, Jeff, you have an assistant. Or do you have any other closing comments, Jeff? And your assistant?
He probably does. I don't, but,
We really appreciate the extra time that you've given us and
certainly.
we'll keep you busy.
All right. I look forward to seeing what we get.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you,
okay,
Jeff.
thank
Okay.
you.
Thanks, Jeff.
Take care, guys. Bye.
Have a good day. Thanks. So Betty and Les, will you guys work on the size
Yes,
one and cut it down to size?
We will.
I think we have a clear direction now.
Yes.
Have it, I guess, in
So
the next packet.
Right, next meeting, we should be able to give final.
Thank you.
approval.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, everybody.
You guys,
Yeah.
my goodness.
Very much.
I have a stupid question, just.
There's no such thing as.
Not even new to all this. Will this be living as a digital form that people can fill out on a website and submit a photo digitally? Or is it?
Yeah,
Okay.
eventually, yeah, it'll all be.
Right.
I mean, I'm assuming.
It'll be a PDF that you can fillable PDF and we'll email it in.
Got it, right.
Yeah. And Bruce says hi.
Oh, okay.
There's
Okay, anything else on heritage trees?
So real quick, just to kind of pop out real quick on the call, are we taking this back to next month back here and then, okay? just
Yeah.
wanna Make sure.
But next month, we should be able to move it down the line.
Perfect. So then if you guys are gonna be reviewing again in August, we'll plan on putting it on the September work session for council.
Okay.
Sounds good.
And what Les and I'll do is we'll go through it with a fine tooth comb and make sure we get all those
The palms.
edits and stuff for you.
And then after the next, the August meeting, we'll send, unless you guys are comfortable with the ordinance, do you want me to send the ordinance to Ashley now?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll go ahead and send the ordinance to Ashley so that way we get her feedback for the August meeting.
Okay,
Okay.
sounds good.
I might have missed this, but when it's on the criteria, it says diameter of trunk and that in parentheses, it says DSH, it should be DBH. In the middle,
That might be Department of Hawaii or something. I don't know what that means.
no, DBH is diameter at breast height, 54 inches off the ground. And
Yeah.
I think it's a misprint,
Oh,
just a small point.
DBH,
it should be what?
DBH.
Oh, DBH? Okay.
That's how you measure the diameter of a tree is DBH.
Mine says TBA.
And in the detail behind it, it's referred to as DBH, so
Okay.
I didn't even catch that.
Okay. You okay with that, all that? Okay, so next we have the Cola Creek Forest Reserve update. Some of us had a great hot walk. to Cola Forest Reserve. And thank you for all the work that you do to get that organized.
Sure.
We will have a special visit for Anita and Amy at some point. And then Jim sent us the plan update that from Barry, that just for our references. And so anybody have any comments or anything about our tour or anything on the reserve?
I thought it was very interesting.
Yeah, it's always good to get out there and see what we're talking
It was
about.
fun.
Yeah.
Fun going down there and all that.
And seeing that part of the stream, the road was interesting too, because we'd heard so much about it, but I'd never hiked down to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was nice to
Yeah.
be able to visualize that.
Yeah.
So then hopefully we can have Amy and Anita go before the August meeting so that we can start working on.
Oh, I don't think going back up there,
Oh,
I mean, I could take them up to the springs,
okay,
all up in there and kind of show them where we were standing at, but getting permits and everything else to get back up there right now
okay,
isn't a good idea, but I would like, every spring or fall, let's just go up there. I can get it, let's go up, because I think it's good to go up there. We don't need to talk business. We can go up there and just enjoy what is up there.
okay.
Just moving forward, something to think about.
Okay,
But I'll take you guys up to the ECFR and, but just not up through
I
with the
understand.
property.
I kind of forgot about what time of year it was. Okay. So next we have Dave's birthday information. I need to apologize. I sent Jen my information with all the pictures of the tree planting. And I kept assuming that she received it. And then when I looked at the packet, I was waiting to go through. So
Oh.
my information is not in there. So I'll make sure that gets there. But I wanted to send the pictures that Les took because that's part of our Tree City USA application. So
Of the planting.
of the plantings. So I'll get that. So I thought what we would do today is just kind of go through the information that's in red in the stuff that you submitted. So you want to.
Sorry, I really went overboard, but I couldn't
No,
help
that's-
myself.
No, I mean, because this is the first year we actively followed. So I'll go ahead and take it away.
Okay, this was my first year too, and so I had a lot of bumps in the road, and so
Mhm.
that's why. Annual. And so the things that pertain to street fair, I tried to emphasize when I thought things were added to the manual. So my first was volunteers, and I'm not sure if this is going to continue, but we had to send out COVID waivers prior to the event and also volunteer waivers, which became a real issue because we weren't, the street fair people at least weren't aware of this. So I added this to the volunteer section now. Are we still going to continue doing the COVID waiver? I don't know.
The COVID waiver, I'm not sure, but we will always have to do all the rest of the forms.
Okay.
As a city sanctioned event, that's what's required in order to get it. I'll ask Ashley because that was something we did a while ago, so that may not be,
So maybe it could just say waivers
yeah.
instead of COVID.
Required waivers.
Required waivers, yeah. Yeah. And then on the next paragraph, I just added staff contact.
Okay,
Yeah,
great.
okay, and then down, I have a lot of things I added for street fair is on.
Mhm.
And so,
I thought those were all great.
okay,
This kind of goes, having organized the street fair before myself, I kind of went through it. And
Yeah.
I think that
good.
all of those things were great.
Okay, so good. And then if we move on down to the booths, I had some questions because with Kurt mentioned about, are we going to give out canopies? I didn't know, so that's why I'm asking the group, what are we going to provide? And if we are going to provide it, we should state it in the manual.
And you're talking, when you say canopies, you mean the tents?
The tents, yeah,
Right.
that's what they were
Okay.
calling them.
I think the direction that we should go with the canopy issue is that we recommend that they bring their own. And if they don't, we wouldn't never want to have an organization not come to the street fair just because they didn't have a canopy.
Okay,
So on a as needed basis, the city would see if
Yeah.
if we could provide,
good. I mean,
because most of the established organizations that have traditionally have always come to the street fair, they go to several of those kinds of things and they have
their own,
canopy, their
yeah,
own.
right.
So if, on a as needed basis, that we would help people find.
And then also tables and chairs, what are our feelings about that?
Same.
Yeah, I think,
As needed.
yeah.
Yeah, I know, because it became a real issue. Some people were asking and other people just had it. So chairs might be an easy one for us to provide, but I don't know.
It's a street fair. Do you need a whole bunch of chairs?
I don't know why,
Let people ask what they want and we'll
Yeah.
provide it
Yeah, okay.
if we can.
if we can.
Yeah.
So how should we state it in here? Do we say as needed or?
have a list of what they need to bring. And then at the bottom, say,
Canopy, table, chairs as needed.
or the committee will work with the individual organizations if they have equipment needs,
Okay,
something like that.
Yeah,
So just have that
go
on.
make it easy for
Right. Yeah.
Have it boxes checked of what they are able to provide so that. we
Yeah, that's a good idea.
are-
well, that's a good idea. So
Yeah.
what they're able to provide.
Right. And then we could see what, how we can work together to get
them. Yeah.
the other items.
Okay. All right, so then if we go down to booze, we don't allow selling, so I think we should just omit that sentence unless there's objection to it. Selling of goods and services shall follow the current municipal code.
Well, but if I don't envision this, but if the code ever changed to allow,
Okay, well,
I don't think it
What,
will.
what code does the farmer's market follow for selling goods? I mean, would that be something that the street fair would kind of umbrella under? So if somebody did want to sell, I don't know what exactly, I mean, I don't really necessarily mean, food or some sort of educational,
From farmer's market.
Yeah, this
Okay.
language came from the farmer's market, because we took the farmer's market book and then picked it over. So that was probably the language from the farmer's market, because they have a specific code. We had to actually make a code to allow the farmer's market.
Mhm.
Right.
Mhm.
yeah,
So that's where I'm kind of wondering if at some point people might want to, I don't know what they would sell off the top of my head, other than a T-shirt or artwork.
Inspired by.
T-shirts.
Yeah, like some recycled artwork.
We did, we sold at the beginning, or we sold posters,
Mhm.
something, and
Or
t-shirts.
Yeah.
native plants.
Gales Metal.
Yeah.
Gales Metal came and.
Yeah, because this is, you can sell outdoor merchandise in conjunction with the special event permit, right?
Right,
Right.
But this has a special event permit,
right.
okay,
so it would be following our code.
So I think we
Okay.
can leave it in.
okay, good, because I thought it was only educational, that's fine.
Yeah.
Okay, great, we can leave that in. And then we can sell stuff?
Well, I think it's,
According to municipal code.
t-shirt, if your vendor has a t-shirt, I'll double check with Ashley.
Well, and I think in the application that we submit as far as a special event, then that's, I suppose we would ask any of the participants
Yeah.
if they intend to sell something, and that would be put on the application so that we know
Right.
what exactly they're gonna.
What I was thinking too is if we had a city booth, like what we had this year, if we were selling like natural recipes or something, and then we could take that money and maybe just split it up with all the people that came. I mean, I don't know. I was thinking of trying to raise money for all these wonderful people that are,
Let's not make it too
Well,
complicated.
Not
yeah, I
make
don't
it
know that we
too
want to, I mean, let's see.
Yeah. Yeah,
I don't know how.
yeah, I don't, yeah, I
So
would
what-
be careful with that one.
Yeah,
okay, all right.
Because we're not out to make money.
Right.
The purpose of the street fair is to educate.
Well, that's
right,
that's-
right.
And like, I think of
Yes.
people buying a puffin from A-Trail.
Right.
So it would go to that organization.
Okay,
Exactly.
okay.
Yeah.
All right, so that clears that. And then down, it says must be applied, supplied by the participant. So shall we change the language on that? If possible,
Or do we take that out
we could take that out. Yeah,
based on what we're going to do with the above?
okay. All right. And then down participants are responsible for. So this one was interesting because where we had the street fair, there were trash cans at both ends. Oh, this one is because it says it already. So we just take that sentence out because it's already stated.
Right.
Okay. And then enforcement, I added that part.
Oh, okay.
So I didn't know if we wanted to. That's about vending again, so.
So the stuff that's in red, you added in that enforcement?
Yeah, but no, I didn't add it in, but I'm saying, are we gonna be doing vending is what I was because I thought we were educational use only.
Okay, so we want to take.
Pick that out.
Or you leave it
leave it and just,
Because then if you're allowed to do it for a code for the special event permits.
But the educational only no cells, we would
then
take out.
educational only would go.
That's what I,
yeah, that was just my question. I thought this was educational only.
okay.
Okay, then we go down to, do we want to take out loud honking, shouting, or barking?
Farmers
Yes.
markets.
Yeah.
Do we want to take that one out?
I think so.
Okay, and then, if you go down to the city, Cannon Beach, 12 days invitation, that was very, I thought we needed to work on how that worked.
Hmm.
So the first thing we would do at the introductory thing is just say required waivers.
Yes, required waivers. And then this is the part. We, once processed, a form completed will be emailed or email address provide, once a completed form will be emailed to the email address provided. And I didn't know if that was what we were really gonna do. Kelsey and I had a hard time with this whole process of sending out. Was she gonna send out the invitation, or was I gonna send out the invitation? So I think we just need to, I need to just talk to Jen or somebody about this before we
Right.
decide, because
those are procedural things.
yeah, they're and it was just very confusing, so.
Okay.
But on the bottom, it says, please provide a list of your volunteers, their email address and phone number. The city liaison, that's Ann or whoever's her place, will send each volunteer and COVID waiver, or I'll just say waiver forms
Okay.
to fill out. They will need to fill it out and send it back to the city liaison prior to the event.
And
then
then
we
we
have
have
to
the
put-
administrative assistant is,
Okay,
right.
okay.
So we put their,
And then they, we need to add the city assistant's email there, so they
Right.
have.
Okay.
And so this is what I came up with, a volunteer list, because every volunteer has to also sign a waiver, which I
Right.
didn't realize.
Yeah.
So volunteer list, name, phone. Number. And then we go down to street fair. I just said, add, provide a description of all signage. These are things I added. Attached completed insurance waiver form, yes. Blah, blah. I don't know how we want to do that, because we want to make sure they have checked off all of the different forms.
so that might be something that at the beginning of each year,
We change.
we list
Okay,
the waivers, because who knows what kind of waivers.
Yeah,
we'll need
exactly.
as we go along.
okay. And then on the only other one was Cannon Beach volunteer waiver. I just said 12 days of Earth Day event,
Good. Okay, thanks for all.
but that's not all. So down on if you keep on the addenda, I have it for the street fair person, I have I made up a spreadsheet, which really helped, and then I sent that spreadsheet to. So then she knew what we had, and she knew exactly what tables and chairs and things they needed. And then this is on the 12 days document, document, this is what I sent to Les. He was the communications person. He has sent something as soon as possible to the communication person.
Okay.
And then this was the hardest part. You have to fill out special event permutation.
Mhm.
So then I just sort of said, I thought if we could give this to the next street fair person, so they can see what they have to fill out without them having to figure it all out themselves.
So this is the actual copy of.
This
what
is
you
the
said.
actual copy. I took my name and stuff out,
Okay,
but I on the bottom, if you keep going down, I marked everything they need to mark.
Okay.
But if you keep going down farther, the site plan was the hardest part. You actually,
Just so you know, we only had to, because you're not going above 200 people, you only have to fill out pages 1 through 3 of the special event permit.
but didn't I have to do the site plan?
Because when you stay at, 50 to 200, you only complete pages 1 through 3.
I didn't have to fill out a site plan where the tents were gonna be, and
Not on your special event permit application.
who has to tell the people?
You guys as a committee are working that part out.
So there's nothing wrong with the site plan. It's great that you did
Yeah,
it.
it's a good site plan, but as far as the application goes, because
You don't need
let's pretend you're not a city one, you're just somebody off the street doing it. The requirements for this, if you are about 50 to 200 people,
Okay,
it's just pages 1 through 3.
okay,
So you did extra work, which was great, but it's not required.
okay.
On
But I-
this event. It's-
Right, for the application, but I think it helped with the
Yeah.
committee work.
Yeah.
Right.
So that was a separate.
So the site plan, though, it seems like it would we need whatever street we pick, we have to talk about blocking off the street.
Mhm.
So we have to give that information to Kurt and Trevor. And then, so I don't know. We don't need to do a site plan. That's great, but
We don't need to do it for the application, but I think it helps in the planning process. that
but that's the
committee
street fair
takes.
person that needs to do.
Right.
it. Okay.
Right.
All right.
So no, it was very helpful.
So then I just sent this example of what the site plan could look like.
Okay.
Anyway. You guys can read through this. I mean,
Oh, you.
okay,
And then I think we're gonna stop at that since we have a long time before the next 12 days and we'll continue evaluating the process.
okay,
Couple of months and then there'll be time to.
do it again.
Okay.
Okay,
If
all right.
everybody's okay with that.
That's good.
And then I'll make sure my part gets in there too. Okay, so next we have a discussion about the community grant ceremony, and we learned the last meeting that because of the health department requirements, we cannot have a potluck to award the grants. Bruce did volunteer to use some city funds to provide, like a dessert or pizza or whatever we want to do. But I think what we need to decide today is some possible dates for the presentations sometime in September. And then what we have done in the past is the city has contacted the chamber and looked to see whether those dates are available. And when we've had it traditionally, it'd be, when we were able to have it before, we always did it the week after Labor Day, and our recipients, a lot of which are nonprofits and associated with school starting and that kind of thing, that was a really busy time. So if we do it a little bit like a week or two after Labor Day, that would be better.
Great.
This would normally be during the day, not like an evening.
No, it's an evening. It was,
It is an
we used to always have it at 6 o'clock. And it was a potluck. And the organizations gave a 3-minute presentation, and then we awarded them the checks. And it's really a nice inspirational evening because you get to hear the community that attends gets to hear where this money is going. So anybody want to throw out any?
Do we usually have it on a weeknight or?
Yeah, it's always been on a weeknight. It's usually been a Thursday, so if we do it on Thursday, we have to be mindful that we have design review one Thursday and planning commission following Thursday.
Which, those are the 2 Thursdays after Labor Day, it looks like.
Right. So I'll throw out a date, September 29th.
Okay. Sounds good to me.
And a Thursday rather than a Tuesday?
Well, we can,
I mean, just
You wanna
when
go
when you
with-
mentioned other committee meetings and such that,
well, city council are the first two. So we could,
Okay.
another suggested date could be that,
Or
Wednesday
Wednesday
of that week.
or Wednesday, or I don't know how people really like to, if they want to just keep it, on a day that there's other things going on so that they can plan something personal on another day, but
So what if we suggested the 27th, the Tuesday, the 28th, which is a Wednesday, and the 29th, which is a Thursday, and just see if the
sure,
community hall is available for a 6 PM.
sure.
So then do we want to just have it be a dessert? Like Costco cake kind of thing, or
I'm sorry, I forgot where we're gonna meet with.
at the chamber, the
Oh, the
community hall?
chamber, okay.
Right.
All right.
And so it's just the key is having prepackaged kind of items. Is that
Right.
the thing?
Yeah. Yeah. So we okay with
I think
a dessert?
if we're willing to pay for it. We should.
I
The
say,
city is.
Okay.
I say cupcakes, just so everybody can go grab a cupcake instead of somebody's cutting cake and having a piece and.
Does Costco have? I mean, do we have the ability to get cupcakes?
I can order them from Safeway even.
Yeah, there you go.
I just want to make sure we keep it as easy as.
Yeah, I mean, cupcakes just sounds like.
It's
We have
easy.
cupcakes.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
No, is that, I'm asking just cupcakes?
Well,
I can do coffee. I can do cupcakes, coffee, and I can, because coffee, we have the.
Yeah.
the thing,
right,
And I can lemonade. Oh, I have a, what are the thing.
Yeah, beverage dispenser.
A beverage dispenser, so we can,
Okay.
I can do a lemonade, I can do a coffee, and we can have cupcakes.
that sounds good to me.
Okay.
Catering by Jen.
In our spare time.
Yeah.
We'll help you, Jen.
Yeah. Yes,
And we would help, we would do the setup and the takedown
Yeah.
too.
Sure.
That's part
Okay.
of the deal. Okay, so we okay with
Okay.
those 3 dates?
Yep, so I will contact the chamber, make sure that those are available and ask them to reserve them. And then at the August 2nd meeting for council, we'll throw those dates out to council because we
Right.
always ask for their blessing.
Okay.
And we will find out on the 2nd if that's a go.
Okay, sounds great.
great.
Okay, and then the last thing on the agenda is composting. We had a community member that wanted to speak. Community member is not here, so I would say we table it till the next meeting. That's okay with everyone? Yeah,
Composting program or?
right, at city composting, yeah.
Okay.
We do, I mean, in fairness to the person that requested, I think she needs to be present, but we all have some reservations about a citywide
Okay,
composting, but in.
And we already have one.
in Manpower.
In a sense, we already have one, I
oh,
would argue,
okay,
because the public can freely drop off their compostables, which get composted and away from here. They can go and buy dirt back.
Yeah,
We have the program, it's just done offsite.
right. So.
You're talking about green waste, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Is there any way to get Recology to do the food waste?
That's not a subject I'm gonna broach with them.
yeah.
No, okay.
yeah.
Just-
They're-
just-
They're, yeah,
Yeah, they're having,
And there's one community member who does bring her food waste to the green waste program,
Oh,
much to my chagrin, because it's like it, but
huh,
I won't tell you her name because, okay.
okay, so we'll put that on next month's agenda. And I had reached out to the community member and I thought she was going to attend. Okay, so good of the order. You want to talk about the CFR?
Yeah, so the Coastal Council, North Coast Watershed Association, Graham Clag, and others are going to do a walkthrough along the Cola Creek within the reserve, I think we're ultimately going to be looking at sites where beavers have either been sighted or there's indications, and kind of go down that. And then we're also going to be trying to inventory blackberry patches, I guess, along the stream, because those would be good areas to remove the blackberry and replant with willows, trying to get some beneficial beaver food in there. And that's going to happen on Saturday.
At 10 a.m.
at 10 a.m. I think it's open to anybody that wants to go tramping through. We'll meet at the gate there and then walk in.
Where's the meeting place?
At the gate into the CFR.
Oh, okay.
And then I would like to thank our work party crew for the work that we did on Sunday. Betty had her grandsons here and couldn't have done, I don't think we could have done it without them. And I think
I'll
we had
let them
fun and
It was fun.
thanks to everybody for
Do you
participating.
have enough material?
Oh, yeah.
We put a pretty big dent in it though.
Yeah.
We did have plenty and there's still some out there.
Right.
It was pretty good.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see how that,
We're
Oh, that
hoping
comes
it
up.
works.
My wife took some videos of Betty's
phantoms.
grandkid running down the slope and back up.
Yeah.
Amazing.
And nobody was hurt.
Nobody was hurt.
Thank you.
And then I just want to mention, just for information, at the August meeting, I will be hopefully in Michigan. If flights don't get canceled, but I do plan on joining by Zoom. I'll make sure Stacy is prepared.
I most likely, yeah, I won't be there also, and I will not be joining by Zoom.
Okay,
August, okay.
okay. Anything else?
I'll be here.
Okay.
What